HOA Karen called 911 after I slept at my own sheep ranch, then froze when she found out who I was. Ever had someone call 911 on you for sleeping on your own land? Because I have. And not just anyone. This came from the self-proclaimed queen of compliance herself. The woman whose clipboard has terrorized half the zip code. Karen M. Featherstone, interim president of the Shady Brook HOA and walking embodiment of high blood pressure and low emotional intelligence. It was the middle of lambing season, and I'd been sleeping in the barn to keep an eye on the ewes. That's normal ranching. Nature doesn't clock out at 5 p.m. And besides, this wasn't some abandoned shack. I built this barn myself. My name's Elijah Thorne, and this land? It's been in my family for 3 generations. Long before Shady Brook became a suburb, before the HOA started posting laminated signs about pet leash lengths and acceptable mailbox finishes, this was ranch land. But Karen didn't care about any of that. What she saw that morning wasn't a rancher doing his job. It was a suspicious male loitering near livestock. I woke up to blue and red lights splashing against the barn wall. The deputy approached carefully. "Sir, we got a call about a trespasser possibly squatting with animals." I blinked, still groggy from a 3 a.m. lambing emergency. Squatting with animals? Karen's voice cut through the air like a shrieking weed whacker. "That's him. He's been here all night. He doesn't live here. He doesn't belong. I have the HOA directory. He's not listed." I stepped out fully, boots crunching on straw. "Karen, this is my ranch." "No, it's not," she snapped, jabbing her stubby finger at the barn. "This is Parcel 17B. It falls under the HOA's new jurisdiction. We extended the boundary last March." My jaw tightened. "You mean when you redrew the property map without a vote?" She smirked. "The board approved it. Retroactive community integration." I turned to the deputy. "Sir, would you mind checking the county assessor's website for Parcel 17B? He pulled out his tablet. I waited. Karen kept muttering. "He doesn't even have a mailbox. Probably doesn't pay dues. He's setting a precedent for vagrancy." The deputy looked up. "Ma'am, this parcel is deeded solely to Elijah Thorne. No HOA jurisdiction applies." Karen blinked. Once, twice, then tried to recover. "Well, he still shouldn't be sleeping in a barn. It's unhygienic, disturbing, bad optics for the neighborhood." "Ma'am," the deputy said, "this is a working ranch." I thought it was over. I thought common sense had finally prevailed. But Karen wasn't done. The very next day, I got a letter taped to the side of my barn. It wasn't from the county. It wasn't even official HOA stationery. Just a document she printed herself with the title, "Cease and Desist. Unauthorized Nocturnal Occupancy of Ranch Structure." I laughed so hard my dog barked at me. Then I got mad. Because here's the first twist. Karen didn't just call the cops. She also filed a code enforcement complaint, citing me for unauthorized human shelter use in an agricultural outbuilding. That triggered an automatic inspection from the county, who had no idea I was a state agricultural consultant. That's right. Twist number 2. I don't just own this land. I oversee conservation projects across 4 counties, including the very one Karen just tried to report me to. So instead of panicking, I sent a little mail to the county land board, the zoning office, and the agricultural extension director. I explained the situation, attached a few screenshots of Karen's cease and desist letter, and requested an environmental impact audit on recent HOA land modifications, including unauthorized boundary changes. That was when things started moving. The first knock came 3 days later. A white county truck pulled into my gravel driveway. Department of Environmental Review stamped on the door. 2 officials stepped out, clipboards in hand, and one of them gave a slow, impressed whistle at the sweeping pasture and grazing sheep. "You Elijah Thorne?" he asked. I tipped my hat. "That's me." "Well," he said, flipping open his clipboard, "seems someone filed a complaint about unauthorized occupancy of your barn. But our office saw something much more interesting when we reviewed the updated HOA boundary overlay." He handed me a printed map, Karen's newly extended HOA district, drawn with clumsy pink highlighter. It didn't just push into my land, it overlapped a protected habitat corridor we'd filed for last year to safeguard the migration path of collared mule deer. I stared. She annexed through a wildlife buffer? Yep, he said, without consulting the county. That's not just illegal, that's reckless. She's got about 20 violations packed in there. And just like that, it began. The audit went public a week later. Karen, of course, thought it was all fake news until a county inspector knocked on her front door and handed her a cease and desist on all HO expansion activities pending full environmental review. She responded the only way Karen knows how, by escalating. She tried to organize an emergency HOA board meeting to vote me out of shared land access, even though my name's on the deed. She wrote a furious newsletter claiming I had invited livestock contamination into family spaces and posed a long-term olfactory threat to property value. She even attached a blurry photo of one of my sheep with the caption, "Biohazard." That's when I knew she was panicking. At the next county hearing, she showed up in a wrinkled beige suit, hauling binders of fake infractions, including one that accused me of weaponizing rams to intimidate volunteers. She had zero legal standing. I had not only property records, but federal land use permits on my side. But the final blow? It came from her own board secretary, a quiet man named Bill who'd had enough. He stood up in front of the hearing room, cleared his throat, and said, "I'd like to submit evidence that Karen forged 5 board signatures last spring to expand HOA boundaries without quorum. She faked my name. She used HOA funds to print 300 flyers that said, and I quote, 'We are the law now.'" Dead silence. Karen's mouth moved, but no words came. The county board reviewed everything. Within minutes, they declared her HOA expansion null and void. The state agricultural office followed with a formal rebuke. Her forged boundary map? Illegal. Her violation letters? Unenforceable. And the final twist? She had to pay $18,000 in fines for environmental disruption, unauthorized jurisdictional claims, and harassment. Her HOA charter was suspended pending full restructuring. She was banned from holding any HOA leadership position statewide for 10 years. Karen cried on the courthouse steps, the same steps she once used to hand out self-printed noise violation warnings to families grilling after sunset. She sold her house 3 weeks later, quietly. Word is, she tried to move into a new development with strict HOA rules until someone Googled her name and denied her application on the spot. And the cherry on top? The county allowed me to host an educational event at the ranch called Land, Legacy, and Livestock. Over 100 locals showed up. Families, students, ranchers, all eager to learn about land stewardship. The real stars? My sheep. Especially Benny, the ram Karen once claimed I trained to menace her. He wore a little ranch security vest, took photos with kids, and got his own commemorative mug. That day, Jackson, my grandson, walked up and handed me a wood sign he'd made in shop class. It had one phrase carved into it. "This land remembers who stood on it with respect." Now it hangs on the barn wall. So let me ask you, true or false? Sleeping in your own barn should get you arrested if Karen says so? The end.